Okay, gang, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you here today. We are recording this session. You'll be able to access this. More information will come out in a little bit about where you can find that. So good morning and welcome to another Tri-County Suburban Realtors virtual seminar. These sessions are brought to you at no additional cost by virtue of your membership here with Tri-County. And thank all of you. We appreciate all of you. Today's session is Sustainability is Good Business, and it is being recorded and will be shared to the Tri-County webinar archive. It's out on our website shortly after the conclusion of the event today. We would ask you to please respect the time and the effort of our presenters here by keeping your camera on and your microphone muted. There will be time definitely for Q&A during this entire seminar, so you'll be asked to unmute and ask your questions. My name is Mike Carlin. I'm the Vice President of Operations here at Tri-County. Great to be with all of you. Been in the real estate business for over 35 years, most recently with Trend and Bright MLS, where I probably met some of you before. Today's speakers are two of our busiest members. That's putting it lightly. Kathy McQuilkin and Eric Rehling. Both are awesome and very accomplished. We're so glad to have them here today. Kathy and Eric have both served on our local association's board of directors, including a term as chairperson. Both are also very active locally and nationally with the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors and the National Association of Realtors. In 2023, Kathy and Eric both served on the NAR Sustainability Advisory Group. And in 2024, Kathy McQuilkin is the Sustainability Advisory Group's vice chair. So you got some experts here with you today. Today's class was going to run until 11:30 a.m. We ask that you respect Kathy and Eric's time again and effort by keeping your camera on and your microphone muted. So we're glad to have all of you here today. Hope you're all thawed out a little bit, although everything's still frozen and we're all nursing our wounds from that Eagles loss. But I hope that you all enjoy today's seminar. So please welcome today's panel, Kathleen McQuilkin and Eric Rehling. Over to you guys. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us on this very cold, chilly morning. So hopefully, as Mike just alluded to, we've gotten over the Eagles' horrible loss, and we're on to bigger and better things for your business for 2024. So this morning, I thought we might start with a little bit of a test question to see if you're awake. We're going to ask that you use the chat function on your screen. And I'd just like to get us started with asking you for your one-word definition for sustainability. So if you would all just utilize the chat function, Eric's going to compile and exhibit our answers. And let's see what you all think of the word sustainability.
And you're not allowed to abstain from the vote.
That's true. Thank you.
I'm actually missing a chat button. I'm looking for it. Sorry.
No worries. It's usually down on the bottom of your screen about midway.
Or you can shout it out.
Go ahead, Eric.
Sorry. Or you can shout it out, Beth. It's
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Looks like we got a few coming in. We appreciate that. Circular, equal, supporting, lasting, perseverance. I think I pronounced that right. Future, consistency, future. Oh, we got a trend here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So future and preservation. Got a couple votes. All right. I think that's most everyone, Kathy, that is on the call here.
Very good. So hopefully you're all able to see that. And as you can see from this, sustainability means different things to different people, and they can all be correct. More importantly, they reflect all of the different definitions from our buyers and our sellers. Knowing what it means to your clients will ensure that you provide the best information to serve their needs, and you refer them to the proper experts as necessary. Understanding the many facets of this topic helps establish your value for your clients. For associations at the local, state, and national levels, being able to support our members with tools and education to expand your value and helping your consumers, keeping at the center of the transaction as our top priority. They may even assist you with information to ensure resiliency and survival of your own business through natural disasters such as flooding, which has occurred in much of our area. Our associations want to help us as an industry be at the forefront of sustainability and better serve our communities and our clients. So let's get started with some education that will empower you as you serve and work in this industry. Eric, take it away.
All right, sounds great. Thank you very much. So yeah, just a quick introduction. I know Mike, had mentioned a few things, but I teach the green designation. So I just kind of want to take a few minutes to just highlight a couple themes that I would take away from teaching the green designation. I would also, one, thank everybody for their time for coming in here. And Kathy and I's main goal here is to just help us walk away in the next 90 minutes with some real applicable things that we can do to grow our business through the lens of sustainability and, green topics, so to speak. I think sometimes when I get into this subject matter, it's really all about like these deep dives, like we all have to just go around and join Greenpeace and start hugging trees and eating granola for the rest of our lives. And I think at the end of the day, hopefully what you'll see is that there's really a lot of small steps that we can take that have a huge impact. And so what you see hopefully on the screen is, if you're not familiar with PAR Just Listed, but that is a daily blog that comes from PAR. And I swear I didn't tee this up, but if you read this morning's Just Listed, it's talking about our Gen Z buyers, which is, our youngest generation of home buyers that's coming into the marketplace. And it talks about their desire for smart home technology, which I'm definitely going to touch on with a few slides here in a second. But what I found really interesting, if you scroll down, right, it's a very environmentally conscious generation looking for solar panels, recycled materials, energy efficient windows, and lights. And so how many of us actually would be able to identify that, right? And that's where at the end, Kath and I are going to try and tie back to, if anything, do we have an obligation to our consumers to at least understand some of these, sustainability or what we refer to a lot as high performance home features, right? Are we able to call them out? We understand that tomorrow's buyer, which is actually today's buyer, the Gen Z buyers, these are the things that they're most concerned about. So it's up to us to kind of amp up our skill set a little bit, our value add to the relationship, and be able to actually, identify, are we looking at these LED light bulbs and things like that? So that's the goal. Anybody got any questions? You can stay on mute, as Mike said. Look, I think sometimes it's easier just if you have a great thought to unmute and shout it out so we can all learn. So let's keep it casual, keep it flowing, all that good stuff. Cool. So can you see the 4 Ps on your screen? Awesome. So the first thing I just want to highlight quickly is in understanding that, much like our diversity, equity, and inclusion inroads, I think we've made some progress. There's certainly always more to do in that subject and that area, but we really started to gain a lot of momentum under that umbrella when we added the word equity and added the word inclusion. The concept of diversity has been around for a long, long time, but what we had to learn as a culture, in my opinion, was that not, everybody's coming at this with a different desire, different motivation, right? And so when we look at the landscape of sustainability, you just want to understand that some of you are on this call because you want to save the planet. Awesome. Some of you are on this call because you're trying to make more money in your real estate business. Awesome. Right? Some of us are just trying to be, more well-rounded individuals by learning a little bit about a subject matter that you may not be an expert in. Right. And so that's why we have the 4 Ps on the screen. And it's just to help you understand that your lens, your reason for wanting to be on this journey of sustainability might be different than your consumers. And that's okay, right? We all understand that as adults, whatever our motivation is, nothing wrong with that. We're all trying to get to the same place, which is, to understand high performance homes, understand sustainability and things like that, right? So we don't want to judge people. We want to understand whatever their motivation is. Let's find a way to maybe describe or explain it in the words that they want, right? And so an example I would give you, if I'm working with somebody who's trying to save the planet, that's awesome. Then when I'm talking about these high performance things within the home, I really should be focusing on, what it's doing to help the environment. As opposed if I'm talking to somebody who's really, really hopped up on saving money on energy, right? That would be your prosperity P. Now I'm phrasing that benefit more about, hey, you might realize 30, 40% on your oil bill by replacing your windows, right? You see that subtle difference? So we got to be able to ask some questions, help our clients identify themselves as to what is their motivation when it comes to these things, right? So I think we hit that. We're good there, right? So we just want to, again, really quick highlight on what is a high performance home. And then hopefully we're going to be able to link this all together for you. And so that we can start to begin to maybe green BRIGHT MLS, which Kathy and I are going to talk about a little bit later. Okay, one quick reference for you. There is a website called Desire. You see it on the screen, DSIRE. It is an awesome resource where you can go and identify what state incentives are available for me to up the systems in my home, for me to upgrade the systems in my home. All right, so that's DSIRE. All right, I'll share that when Kathy's talking. I can put that up so you guys get a visual of that. But again, what that's going to do, it's a comprehensive database. You see the entire country. I could click on PA and then boom, I would be given a list of all of the grants and programs and rebates, etc. So for example, say I wanted to drop some insulation in my attic to make my home more insulated, which is going to reduce my energy costs. Maybe there is a grant or a rebate available for me to do that. So rather than as our friend Craig Foley, if you don't know Craig Foley, he's just an amazing individual, green realtor, did a lot of the curriculum for the green course. He hails out of a suburb of Boston. He transformed his 19th century Victorian into the most energy efficient home in Boston. Those are my words, not his, but he did an amazing job. And a lot of it was done through utilizing rebates and credits. He did a lot of research. And so that, we'll get into it. Some people, I think, well, let me ask a question. By a show of hands, who thinks that sustainability or high performance home features are more expensive? 2, 3. Okay. Couple of us, everybody else off screen. That's cool. I'm assuming you're raising your hand, right? That's definitely the perception, right? It's going to cost me more money to do all of this. And we really want to challenge that. And hopefully by the end, you'll see that, there's something about the cost of ownership. A great book that you may want to try to check out is Let My People Go Surfing. Has anyone read Let My People Go Surfing? So that is written by the founder of Patagonia. There's some French dude. I don't speak French, so I can't pronounce his name, but it's a great book. And the whole concept of, he really struggled in his life with the conflict of wanting to save the planet, but he ran a very large, successful textile company, right? Like he's making sweaters and sweatshirts and quarter zips and everything else. And there's a fair amount of pollution that goes along with that process, especially when you think back to the 70s and 80s and early 90s when he was really growing Patagonia. So he had this conflict his whole life. That's what the book's about. And it really gets into the idea that what is the cost of ownership? If I would have just bought a Patagonia quarter zip when I was 23, they make their stuff to last your entire life. And so, yeah, that quarter zip may have cost me $200 to get, but I only had to buy one. Instead of going to Walmart or Target or whatever and buying the $20 quarter zip and then having to replace that 15 times, I ended up spending way more money, right? So we definitely want to understand the concept that green or sustainability or high performance homes does not equal more expensive. It's a different calculation. We have to help our buyers and sellers understand what is the cost of ownership, what is the cost of it over the life of its term. Does that make sense to everybody? Cool. All right. We're rolling. So, right, how do we want to do this? As I was talking about with Craig, right, you use this resource Desire, for example, right? Craig will help you understand, or he talks about it a lot. Why am I sending an Eagles calendar? Well, he'd be sending a Patriots calendar, but we'll let him slide on that. But, you know, why am I sending an Eagles calendar or a Phillies calendar when I can send a postcard that puts money in my seller's, my homeowner's pocket, right? If I can help them understand that there are real savings out there for them to upgrade their home into these high performance features, right? Am I adding value now? I think most of us would argue yes, right? So you definitely want to take a look at that. We're going to share a lot of other websites and resources, you know, as we go through the call here today, but it's all about understanding that there are, you know, there's so much different definitions, as Kathy's exercise this, you know, in the beginning here helped us understand. Everybody's approaching this a different way. If you can just be the source of the source, right? If you can just help provide them avenues and options to upgrade their home, you're raising your level of professionalism, right? Cool. Any questions so far? No? Okay. So one thing I wanted to talk about quickly is the energy audit. Another example of, you know, sustainability is good business, right? So here I am, I got some property owners. I take a look at my past clients from, say, 5 or 10 years ago, right? If you've been in the business that long. And what if I was able to create a mailer that says, hey guys, I'm offering an energy audit at my expense. What is an energy audit? Does anybody know what an energy audit is? If you do, unmute and shout it out. Doesn't have to be a perfect definition.
Pico does energy audits where they come out and they see what the leaks are, where the inefficiencies are of the home. They find out like whether you're using LED light bulbs, and they're checking for, like I said, leaks, the insulation in the attic. They're kind of going all through the house and seeing what the efficiency of the home is.
Excellent. Great. Thank you for that, Dawn. I appreciate it. So yeah, right. Keith, I see you're unmuted. Did you want to add anything, or you're good?
No, it's pretty good. I'd say they'd also take a look at your utility systems, HVAC systems, other aspects of the home. Could be exterior as well. What kind of plants? Well, that's probably not going to fall into a home energy audit per se, but I would think that it should be included maybe going forward, that we take a look, as we often talk about, sort of the exterior of the home as a important feature of value to the house, that there's a trend towards trying to go more sustainably with things such as water barrels, wildflower, pollinator gardens, things of that nature that can help cut down on impacts such as flooding, stormwater management, essentially, as well, and other pollutants. But also, when it comes to it too, you can end up with a rating, and something like a HERS rating, which I'm going to guess you guys will probably talk about at some point.
Yeah. Yes. Might hit that HERS rating. We'll see how we go. That's might be next level here, but yes, you can get a rating on your home, which is basically an energy efficiency score, right? So now I'm offering this energy audit, and what am I doing? I'm helping give my property owner an outline or a guide to how they could upgrade the home. And selfishly, as a realtor, what does that do for me? That gets me perhaps a listing that's easier to sell, right? Because it's going to be a more modernized, a more upgraded home. right? So that's where we go back to those 4 Ps, where it's not a dirty word to intersect profit and the planet, right? If I can help my seller understand that there are true tax savings, incentives, grant programs, et cetera, to upgrade their home, I'm helping them save money. I'm helping save the planet because they're putting in high performance, energy efficient upgrades to their home. And then when they call me to list their home, I've got a home that appeals to the Gen Z buyer, which is the bell curve of buyers coming into our marketplace. So you see how all 3 of those are related? And it's as simple as offering something like an energy audit. How much is it? You're talking about, I mean, you guys can check it out, whether it's PICO, PP&L, or an outside third-party entity, but we're talking about, you know, generally $100, $150. I mean, you're not offering thousands of dollars necessarily. So, you know, some of you may be dropping off batteries to replace a smoke detector. Maybe I reinvest that money in my business and offer these energy audits. And before I turn it over to Kathy, I would just say that, you know, there are some states in our country that require an energy audit prior to listing, right? So some of our, you know, Pennsylvania is kind of in the middle of the curve when it comes to sustainability. I guess I would say that's kind of a really broad term, but, you know, we're not on the cutting edge. We're also not a lagger. We're just kind of hanging out. We're ranked 22nd. So that kind of proves the point there, right? But some of your states that are a little bit more progressive with these themes, they're requiring these energy audits, and the score is being posted on perhaps the MLS or some sort of third-party provider. So, you know, to help that buyer understand what is the true cost of homeownership that we alluded to earlier. So, Kathy, why don't I take a break here? You want to jump in, and then you know, we can get back. I can take back over there.
That sounds great. Thank you so much, Eric. A great start. I thought I might give a little bit of background on the sustainability efforts at NAR. The National Association of Realtors Sustainability Advisory Group was established in 2018. This was after preliminary planning in 2016 and 2017. Our mandate was to evaluate, monitor, and analyze means and methods for integrating sustainability into all aspects of residential and commercial real estate. We were also to recommend the design, implementation, and evaluation of a sustainability plan and the triple bottom line: social benefits, environmental considerations, and strong economies. Practices we hope to support and promote sustainability through NAR and the entire real estate sector. We also wanted to provide information and make recommendations to committees for sustainability efforts and education and advocacy for our members. We are comprised of members such as yourselves, as well as participants from every committee existing at NAR. So what do we actually accomplish? What are our tasks to keep associations, and more importantly, you, our members, at the forefront of sustainability in its many definitions? How do we promote your value, highlight your service, increase your education, and raise your value to clients and your communities? Let's do a brief overview of some ongoing work at the Sustainability Advisory Group. We have impacted the Commitment to Excellence learning modules with cutting-edge sustainability topics of all sorts. This impact will continue to grow with the ultimate hope that there will be a separate sustainability module introduced for the C2EX designation. And by the way, if you are not familiar with it, or you haven't begun your training to obtain it, I highly recommend it. It's called the C2EX, and more information is available at nar.realtor. Our goal is to equip realtors with the information necessary to confidently engage with clients on all sustainability topics. Take a look at NAR Next Up. That's NAR NXT Up, and the Realtor Learning Center for more educational opportunities. It's amazing the number of reports, as well as courses, webinars, seminars, etc., that you can enjoy. We've created this 10-year sustainability plan for NAR that was done in 2020. This is guiding our association and our leaders through vigorous implementations of resources and strategies that benefit people, profit, planet, and property, as Eric mentioned earlier. For instance, partnerships tackling key sustainability topics in residential and commercial markets, such as the National Association of Home Builders joint initiative, Home Performance Counts, like grant funding for state and local sustainability projects, plus a toolkit for local and state associations to build sustainability into their operations and become sustainability leaders in their marketplace. We also have worked with our leaders. Consider 2021 NAR President Leslie Rudis Smith's initiative for an ongoing program to plant 1.5 million trees across the country, one for each of our members existing at the time of her service. That is an ongoing project, and I think it's something that you could utilize in your business to let your clients know what we as realtors are doing. We create fantastic research reports for residential as well as commercial agents, also for association leaders and for brokers. The NAR ESG and R report, which stands for Environmental, Social, Governance, and Resilience, reviews and aggregates the major sustainability accomplishments and activities for NAR in any given year, and it includes opportunities to build upon those efforts under our 4 pillars. An ongoing action is reviewing the carbon footprint consultants to utilize when the SEC requirements for companies begin to take effect in the upcoming years. Overall, our SAG helps NAR and our members impact housing production and access by improving housing availability, affordability, accessibility, and sustainability to better meet our consumers' demands. Can we help members include the total cost of ownership for our clients on a regular basis? Is that something that you talk about with your clients in your day-to-day business? Total cost of ownership is more than just principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. It takes into account things like flood insurance if needed, which, by the way, Pennsylvania has at various times in the last 10 years ranked as high as 4 on the national use of flood insurance. You think more of it perhaps with some of the coastal states, yet we have some of the largest numbers of bodies of waters. Think about the streams, creeks, and rivers throughout our state. It includes energy costs. Eric talked about the value of the question, are energy improvements costing more, but not in the long run? That's what we found. You may have an initial outlay that's more. We talk about credits, rebates, which we will talk about more as we go through the seminar. But these are things that can help your client, and they can help you establish your value as a realtor in providing that information and helping your clients understand the value of all these items that we're discussing. We also want to raise member understanding of the impact of natural disasters, climate fluctuations, and the importance of sustainability practices in our industry. We want to become the recognized leader and resource for industry and community sustainability and resiliency. And we want to help you substantiate your leadership in that role as well. And now back to Eric.
Cool. Thank you very much, Kathy. All right. Great information. I want to talk about that cost of homeownership quickly, just to prove a point. And Keith, I did see your question in the chat, so I'm going to hit that as well. But you know, last year I got an estimate to put in a geothermal heating system at my house. And why, again, with 90 minutes, we're not going to necessarily get into the detail, but essentially a geothermal heating system is a far more efficient way to heat your house because it's using the natural temperatures of the earth to heat your home. So let's just leave it at that. If you have further questions, just ask. But it's an efficient way, but it's expensive because you got to, well, the entry level cost can be expensive in some people's mind because you got to drill down into the earth and to extract that heat. Anyway, on that theme of it's more expensive, exactly what I just said, right? So I got this quote. Now, one of the benefits of a geothermal heating system is that all of all components of the system are either inside or underground. So they are not susceptible to the ice and storms and snow and rain and everything else that our regular old air conditioner compressor that's sitting outside your window, that thing has a shelf life of 8 to 10 years, whereas a geothermal system has a shelf life of about 25 years. So I got this quote, the Inflation Reduction Act, which Kathy's going to touch on here in a little while, that is offering a credit for geothermal heat pumps, upwards of, let's just say 30%, depending on your tax bracket. All right. So by the time I pay for the geothermal system, then take my 30% tax credit, I actually ran a spreadsheet, which I'm no spreadsheet master. I went to Florida State. So if I can do it, you can do it. All right. And what I realized is that the cost of upgrading my propane fired HVAC today, adding in the fact that I would have to replace my air conditioner compressor in about 10 years, right? So I'm going to get a new thing in my basement and then a new thing outside. That thing outside is called the compressor. I got to replace that outside unit about halfway through the useful life of geothermal, right? So geothermal lasts 25 years, air conditioner lasts 10. That tells me that I got to replace it at least once before the geothermal wears out. Everybody with me on this? The average annual cost of when I add in the replacement cost of the outside unit is $4,000 a year. So between my, let's just call it $300 a month in heating or cooling bill for my standard propane fired system. Okay. $300. I'm just taking some averages here. Bear with me. Plus the cost of buying a new one today and buying a replacement 10 years from now. Add that all up, divide it by 25 years, and you're basically getting an annual operating of about $4,000. Take your geothermal, which is a much bigger cost today to get, everything into my house. The average cost to operate that once you take it over the 25 years or amortize it, as we call it, is $2,000. So I'm literally spending half the amount of money on a geothermal system. I'm just front loading that cost in the first year. So we really want to dispel the idea that everything is more expensive. There are loans that I'm going to talk about. There are ways to get around the idea that I got to lay out this 20 G's up front. That's obviously a major hurdle for many of us, myself included. Okay, does that make sense? Hopefully everybody followed that. So really want to help us understand cost of ownership and do these calculations. I would argue, as I said earlier, it's really where we're increasing our value add to our clients and consumers. We're not letting them just stop at, oh, that's too expensive for me to buy today. Well, is it? Let's help them understand what that monthly payment looks like over the life of the system that they're talking about. Okay. Now, on Keith, just to circle back quickly, yes, there are definitely some states that require that energy audit. Keith had mentioned Minnesota. Minnesota is definitely one of the more progressive states when we come to these concepts that we're discussing today. I believe California also requires it. I believe, don't quote me, but Arizona's teetering on it. So there are, best I can tell, this is whisper down the lane. This isn't scientific, but there's about a half a dozen, maybe a little bit less, of the states that are requiring the energy audit as we sit here right now. And obviously we would imagine that trend would continue, though PA is probably a little ways away from actually being a requirement. So hopefully that helped answer that question. I did want to just show you an excerpt of a couple videos. So I'm changing gears a little bit. Okay. And what we're going to do is just help us understand some of the more simple things. I jumped into geothermal heating. That's not a simple upgrade, right? That's what we would call a deep green upgrade. That's going to take a boatload of time, a boatload of energy. As far as me making that decision, it's just going to take a lot of resources to get a geothermal system into my house. Doesn't mean it's a bad idea, because I could save money in the long run, but that's a big upgrade. And now we're going to take a step back and start to understand that it's not all about these major, major expenditures. Like I said before, we don't have to jump into, just running vegetable oil in our cars. There's a lot of things that we can do in between steps that will help us, right? Caulking, insulation, all the things that you've heard a home inspector talk about time and time again, they really make a major, major impact on what we call the building envelope. Okay, so this is a green builder in South Carolina. Dude's name is Todd Usher. He runs Addison Homes in South Carolina. I'm not endorsing his product. I've met him once. Nice enough guy, but he's cool on YouTube. So that's why we're watching it.
Share my screen here.
Can everybody hear it?
So in this presentation, really, I focus on several key components of building a sustainable home: the building envelope, the insulated shell, indoor air quality, which most of us are very aware of these days, efficient equipment in the home, and smart technology. Because we're seeing more and more evolution in smart technology and how it can help us understand how our homes are working. So with the building envelope, and Zumi, just interrupt me if you have questions or anything.
Of course.
What do we do? I think you probably remember when I said in extreme weather, what do we do? It's winter time and we put on a jacket.
Right.
And in my presentation, I have this jacket that has slits cut in it. So there are all these slits and gaps in the jacket. And as most of us could guess, that doesn't work very well. A jacket that you put on and have slits in it doesn't work too well. But that's exactly how we typically build a home in the US. So this picture is an image that most of us could see on a frosty morning or a morning with dew. If you drive through a neighborhood, you'll see these mysterious lines on the outside of the building. And when we look closer, that's actually the wood framing. And that wood framing is not a good insulator. So it conducts heat through the building envelope. And it's kind of our weak link in the building envelope. We fill the cavities with insulation, but we don't do anything with all of the wood. And in a typical new home today, about 25% of that wall is wood, and it's not insulated like the cavity is. So what we do instead, and what many high performance builders who focus on energy efficiency have started doing, is using exterior insulation, essentially a jacket for your house.
Right. Like
So all of
windbreaker.
that's right. That's right. It's a windbreaker.
Right. So again, just a quick, try to get our concept. You're talking about a high performance home, and maybe in our mind, we're thinking it's got to be really, really crazy, complicated, and expensive. And here this dude ran out and bought styrofoam, I'm paraphrasing, and glued that styrofoam insulation to the outside. And then what you can see on the picture on the right is he uses some kind of tape. I call it duct tape. He may have a fancier word for it, but essentially we're just sealing off all the gaps. So it's not that we have to have this big, fluffy 18-inch set of insulation, right? That's good, but we can start smaller than that and just walking around our house. Now, some of us may not be able to build a brand new high performance home, but we can take this same vision, hopefully, and walk around our house, which is essentially what an energy audit is going to do, right? If you just walk around with a tube of caulk and you start to see the gaps, right? Caulk it. If you start to see your insulate, your storm door's not sealing right, you can see daylight coming out of the storm door. Well, let's go to the big box store and buy some insulation that we can, with double-sided tape, add to that door, right? So there's so many very small things, in my mind, small things that we can do at our own house. And the video, if you want me to share it with you, I certainly can. It just is, it goes on to help us just understand that it's the non-sexy items that really can have upwards of 30 to 40 to 50% savings on our energy bills, right? So now think about how you're steering that conversation with your homeowners today. I think, I don't know if I'm allowed to say steering on a realtor phone call, but we just did it. So there you have it, right? But we can shape, I'm going to say shape. We can shape that conversation around real things, right? We send them a postcard instead of sending, pushing their clock back, because everybody's got a smartphone and their clock's going to adjust automatically in this day and age. We can send them a postcard for, some of these things. And now, hey, why don't I come out and give a one-on-one consultation? And that one-on-one consultation is really just about helping them see the gaps, see the breaks in the insulation, some of these more mundane items in the house. Does that make sense? Cool. So Kathy, I'm going to do one other thing and then I'll throw it back over to you. On that indoor air quality, which the gentleman on the YouTube talked about, right? One thing I would just remind ourselves, I think, we tend to go to, at least I tend to go, when I think about indoor air quality, I think about mold. Okay, cool. But what he talks about, think about all the things that come off, particulates is the technical term that he says anyway, right? When I'm cooking. So they really make it a point to make sure that everything, the range hood, is exhausted outside, right? The cooktop range hood. Again, maybe not the simplest fix if I have a pre-existing home, but might be worth talking about, right? You can't really go into a restaurant and, every restaurant that I've ever been in, their cooktop is exhausted outside. I'm pretty sure that would be code. Why? Because they're running that, cooktop 12, 14, 15 hours a day. It would be really uncomfortable to sit in that restaurant if that stuff wasn't exhausted outside. So most of us at the residential, at our own house, we may not be cooking that many hours inside my home, but we still are polluting our air quality every time we turn on the cooktop. So something just to think about. We really want to get that air and that stuff outside, and we want to think about our exhaust fans in our bathroom. Most of us, at least my friends, they got a switch on their exhaust fan, and as soon as they're done the shower, they shut the fan off, and all that humidity is staying inside the bathroom. And today, you can get very, very high efficient exhaust fans. Most of us might be able to replace these things by ourselves, right? They're going to have a built-in humidistat. Is that how you pronounce that thing? I don't know. Right? So it's going to be able to monitor the level of moisture in the bathroom and shut that thing down once it gets to a happy zone. Right? So again, smaller things to think about. Kathy, why don't you jump in and with the next segment here.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Eric. Hopefully you folks are starting to see the positive impact of understanding sustainability and resiliency in a common sense way for your client's total cost of ownership. I want to mention next some survey results from an NAR recent survey regarding agents and their clients' usage and outlook on some sustainability features. This was done middle part of last year. 50% of the agents surveyed handled transactions of properties with green features in this last year. They're using green features on MLS green data fields to promote green features 37% of the time, 24% of the time to promote energy info, 14% of the time to promote green certifications, and 7% of the time for other information related to green and sustainability. They also said this, and I think, again, this survey is available to you through your membership usage of the NAR website. 63% of agents are seeing the value of green features in promoting energy efficiency and adding value. 48% of you said clients have expressed interest in sustainability and sustainability features. 34%, and this is a big change, said solar panels increased the perceived property value. They also had some interesting survey results of what the clients thought regarding specific items. And this sort of tailors and follows on what Eric and the YouTube presenter that he just showed had exhibited. Quality of windows, doors, and siding is important to 84% of the clients on the member survey. 75% said the cost of utility bills was one of their major concerns in total cost of ownership and purchasing. 44% said energy efficient lighting was important to them. And lastly, 34% of their clients said green community features were important to them. Hopefully you can see from that the importance of keeping you at the center of the transaction by utilizing sustainability in your business plan. Consumers even mentioned on a consumer survey, 48% of them were interested in walkability of communities and bike lanes, paths, running trails, etc. in 37% of the consumer searches. I thought we would talk a little bit about the IRA. And no, I don't mean the Irish group. That's the Inflation Reduction Act. Here are some tidbits of information and links that may help you as you assist your clients to their best advantage in utilizing that act. The legislation represents an historic opportunity for realtors and the energy efficiency industry to work together, hopefully to raise the bar on our nation's housing stock for the good of buyers and sellers, and to further the state goals that are required under the act. So keep in mind that each state has to create something intrinsic to their state as far as requirements to utilize the credits and rebates involved in the act. We recognize that millions of homes will be upgraded as a result of the funded energy efficiency rebates and the tax credits. This will impact home value, the data that's captured on homes, and how ultimately we might use the marketing for resale of these homes. You as agents need education, you need engagement, and you need inexpensive tools that will help you, pardon me, I lost my screen here, help you to understand and easily explain the benefits of these homes and these features. Our real estate industry needs solutions that work within your typical business flow to empower you and to help your clients reach a broad adoption and true market transformation by using the energy efficiency and imported in this Inflation Reduction Act. Our Sustainability Advisory Group is in the process of developing a white paper. That white paper is designed to support and advance the Sustainability Advisory Group and NAR's strategic priorities by outlining ways where NAR can support and help the implementation of the IRA residential rebate programs throughout the states. It has a dual purpose. We hope to provide our state association leaders and our government affairs directors with a tool that will help them engage state energy offices on real estate education and engagement for this market transformation, and to provide the state energy offices that will be essentially running the program that is required in order to take availability of these funds from the Inflation Reduction Act and give them a proper and positive perspective and recommendations on utilizing all of the funds to the best of their ability, and also in the development of that market transformation plan as required under the IRA. Eric's going to share some slides and some links that I hope you can take advantage of. And keep in mind, a lot of these links and information pieces that we're sharing are also available on your nar.realtor website. Also, bear in mind, with these credits, income limits are applicable in many cases, and there are rebates allowable in the plan, but each state is creating their own plan. So if Eric, if you can page through would like to just take a look at some of these slides. Pearl Certification is a company that helps value and certify high-performing features in homes. Many of the requirements in the IRA will require some third-party certifications in order to take full advantage of credits and rebates and for the states to comply with their requirements in the federal program. So I think it's important to take a look at what Pearl shows as sort of the circular existence of what home improvements will do in this transformational market change that we're going through if our state takes advantage of the IRA. And you can go on to the next screen, Eric, if you would. One thing I'll point out is Pearl has done their own survey, and these homes that go through these transformations sell on an average for 5% more. And I think that's good information for you, for your sellers, as they're thinking of marketing their homes. And of course, with this low inventory, I think it's critical for us to help homeowners realize that they can take advantage of some of these and realize a greater profit. Perhaps that will take some of our sellers off the sidelines, and then that will assist our buyers in being able to move into new properties. And if you would go ahead and screen down. So we talked about some surveys that NAR has done. Take a look at some information that Pearl includes here with regard to some of the updates through federal policies, the consumer demands, as well as building code updates that are required. Then take a look at their survey related to specific concerns. You'll see that rising prices and inflation is at 65%, COVID's at 25%, but climate change, especially among millennials and Gen Z, which is a large proportion of our buyers currently, is at 19%. Millennials are spending the most money on home purchases at the time and home improvements. Take a look at this slide from the 2022 James Hardy homeowner survey, and you'll see millennials are spending an average of $40,000. This was during the COVID period. Gen X is spending $10,000, and baby boomers are spending $11,000. Another survey they're utilizing is the 2022 Deloitte survey. They noted cost of living and financial anxiety, climate change in the environment, social justice, and societal values, including employers and companies that they do business with. One of the things when I mentioned all of the research and reports that are available to you as members on your website is the 2023 Sustainability Report. On this particular slide, we've included some value, and it's obviously showing the different parts of the country on how consumers are valuing energy efficiency promotion in residential listings. So I'm not going to read every percentage to you, but I think if you just take a look at it and concentrate on the Northeast, you'll see that 21% found it very valuable and 35% found it somewhat valuable. That's a high percentage of folks that are interested in these features. And then Eric, if you want to go on, let's take a look at another part of the survey and see how, as I mentioned, solar panels have jumped from a lower position on survey questions to number 2, solar panels, 29.41, even on the Angie survey. So you'll see HVAC upgrade, one of the items that Eric talked about, as number 5. Building codes are also proprietary to various states. So we, for instance, use the 2013 to 2015 National Building Code in Pennsylvania, I believe, currently. So that's just giving you a slide view here of how it looks across the country. And here's with that code, you can see PA's usage there as well as where other states stand. You can pass through our technology there. Let's get to this Inflation Reduction Act.
Okay.
The Department of Energy estimates 70% of households will be able to qualify for something, for some use of rebates within the program. So it could be coming to a home near you. Take a look at the 45L new construction tax credit. We will again have a variety of links at the end of these slides, which you can utilize and help empower your clients, most importantly, and establish yourself as an expert or someone who will find the expert for your clients. Homes built to Energy Star standards, it's showing there, as well as homes built to Zero Energy Ready standards. These are specific rebates that are found under the program. Tax credits. Rebates are the ones that are most linked to median income levels in a particular area. So we do need to be aware of that. And that's why it is proprietary to the states as far as how they will execute these programs. But tax credits are more widely available and with fewer requirements related to income limits for the area. So just take a look at some of those numbers there. Can you think of a way you might benefit your past buyers and sellers and upcoming buyers and sellers with program rebates that might be available to assist them?
I think we hit.
Here are some of the things it can and can't do with the efficiency tax credits. So there's nothing that you can carry forward, unlike renewable energy and solar credits that existed previously. You can qualify for the max amount every year in which improvements are made. I think this one is interesting with some ideas of qualifying installations for up to 30% of the cost, new and existing homes, both. So, but one thing I do want to point out, labor's included. There's no dollar limit, and you can carry forward allowable owned systems only. There are some items that it covers, and I'm sure you can think of some folks who might have questions regarding that are past clients. And you may be getting questions like this from current buyers as well.
Yeah, and that just to interject quickly, I mean, that geothermal heat pump, as I was talking about, I mean, I got the estimate. That's a 30% tax credit. Another system that I know qualifies is pellet to heat your home with wood pellets, which is how I heat my house. I have a pellet stove, and that powers the heat even on a day like today. And that basically I'm heating my house for about $1 a day after I factor in the tax credit, because burning pellets is a sustainable, is a green product. So it's compressed sawdust. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah. All right. So
okay. So what are some of the rebate programs? Again, point of sale rebate could reduce out-of-pocket costs. And again, noticing some here that there will be some median income requirements. Those will be, again, specific to areas. So that's something we'll need to pay attention to. I don't have specific information for Pennsylvania at this point because they are in the process of, as all states are, of creating the plan that's acceptable to the government, federal government under the IRA. And that's the point of our white paper, is to help our government affairs directors, our state association leaders work with Pennsylvania to create something that will help our homeowners and potential homeowners as well in this state. I thought that this particular slide had some very usable information for you, for yourselves as well as your clients. So just to give you an update, or give you an example of some of the product rebates that are available. This slide, I think, is a good example of where rebates could help in single family housing. So we talked about the importance of the white paper that we're working on for the work with the government affairs directors, as well as our association leaders. As you can see, 25% of the state's electrification and energy efficiency rebate programs, and the funding is tied to an approved market transformation plan, which they must submit.
Cool. All right.
And I would just page through this. These are good things to know, but I'd like to get to the cost value report. You can take a look at that. I think that's an important one, but I think this is probably the most important slide. These are things that you should utilize to perhaps learn more and establish yourself as a point of information for your clients. And then you can also utilize these to provide to your clients. So some great website resources there that are available.
Awesome. All right.
So I think, Eric, I'll send it back to you and we can move on to the next part of our program. And it's certainly at the end, we'll take time for questions and answers, as well as certainly let us know if you have specific information that you'd like to have us address.
Yeah, definitely unmute if you have questions or thoughts. I'm trying to keep track of the chat. So I will definitely get to appraisers and things like that. So, but this, hopefully, just to quickly go backwards, we're hoping to help you understand that there are ways that we can reach out to our past clients with a little bit more value add to the relationship than maybe a Sixers calendar, right? It's the idea of energy audits. It's the idea of helping them understand that there are some small, simple things that we can do to help reduce your energy bill. We know that our Gen Z and millennials in particular, they're concerned about inflation. Their budget is getting pinched. And now you're showing up with a way to make their dollar go further, because instead of spending $2 on their energy bill in January, they're going to spend $1.50. Now they got 50 cents to buy a Miller Lite. So this is the concept that we're trying to convey to you. And then obviously, Kathy, great presentation, understanding the big umbrella to all this in that Inflation Reduction Act. Yes, Pennsylvania is working on it, the specifics of it, but that is a huge impact to our housing inventory and the opportunity for us to help our folks navigate the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, and realize true savings on these upgrades. So to tie it all together, let's talk about mortgages and appraisals, because where are we going to get all this money to do all these really cool things? And before I say that, I just want to add one quick footnote. Oftentimes, smart technology comes up under this umbrella of greenifying our homes and things like that. Smart technology is an awesome entryway into this world. I would just tell you that smart technology does not always equal efficiency, right? A smart home technology takes electricity to run, because by default, what it means is that it's connected to the internet so it can be smart. And so for me to be connected to the internet, I got to take power. And so if I just buy myself a Nest thermostat, but I never use any of the automated features, that is actually a less green option than your old Mercury thermostat, right? So if you're going to get into the world of smart home technology, you at least want to allow the thing to automate itself, which is going to create the energy efficiency that it's selling you. If you constantly override, or your clients constantly override the automation because they're scared of Big Brother peeking in on their house, then they're doing nothing to help energy efficiency. They're actually detracting from it. So smart home technology is fun to talk about over a beer, but just know that you got to use it to make it green. But on that, let's talk about Freddie Mac. So I think somebody was asking, do I have specific lenders? I'm not going to recommend specific lenders on the call here, but the recommendation I would give you is so Freddie Mac is probably the lead, Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, right? Two of our government sponsored enterprises that basically run the residential secondary mortgage market, 30-year mortgages. So they have a program called Green Choice Mortgages. And so this is where I absolutely would turn if you're looking to find a lender who can help you and your buyer, more importantly, and perhaps on a listing appointment, navigate a high performance home and some of the features. Now, again, high performance home doesn't have to mean geothermal heat and solar panels. It can mean a lot of other things, okay? But Green Choice Mortgages, you can find a local lender by going to this website, typing in your zip code, and just kind of networking from there. But understand, one of the major takeaways, hopefully, that we're going to get here in the closing minutes is understand that the Appraisal Institute has a program for their appraisers to become qualified appraisers in the space of high performance systems and products and things like that. Okay. So the AI, the Appraisal Institute, not to be confused with ChatGPT or Allen Iverson, two other great examples of AI. But AI in this context is the Appraisal Institute, which has classes like we as realtors have the green designation, which is a 2-day course to get your green designation. They have something similar, a similar track where an appraiser can get grounded in the concepts of green and high performance things. So you have the right to demand a qualified appraiser if the home that he or she is appraising has these features that we're talking about. So if there's nothing else you remember today, understand, and I would make the argument if we read the Code of Ethics, Article 11, where it talks about the idea that we have to be experts, right? I think most of us understand that if I've never listed a steel mill, it would be really hard for me to walk into Bethlehem Steel, if they're even still around, and put a value on that and list it. Like, I would have no freaking idea what to do with a steel mill. We really want to begin to understand that we need that same expertise when we're talking about these high performance features, right? Because the code tells us that. Article 11, if I put it up on the screen quickly, maybe. Right? We know that the preamble to the Code of Ethics, under all is the land, and it goes on, that preamble goes on to talk about that we require the creation of adequate housing, the building of functioning cities, the development of productive industries and farms, and for today, the most important, the preservation of a healthful environment, right? So the preamble of our code talks about these. And then the Article 11 that I'm referencing specifically states, realtors shall not undertake to provide specialized professional services concerning a type of property that is outside their field of competence. So hopefully you can understand that if I walk into a house that has all kinds of high performance features, am I really qualified to market that property? And if you're not, you really should find a green designated realtor who has those qualifications to help you through the process. And one of the number one takeaways, one of the number one potential downfalls is that if I don't demand a qualified appraiser, because I can add what we call contributory value to the house once I have these third-party certifications that I'm talking about. So I can call Pearl Certification or other third-party certification companies to come out and certify these high-performance systems and ultimately give that energy rating that we were talking about earlier on in the call. Now I have documented third-party verification of these features, which I can now give to the qualified appraiser, the appraiser who understands this market. And now You know, if I got 2 townhouses attached to each other and one sold for 400 and I'm trying to market mine at 425 because it's got souped up insulation, it's got solar panels, it's got low E windows, it's got heat pumps, split systems in it, right? I got to be able to articulate that value to the appraiser. Does that make sense to everyone? And if I would argue that it's a potential violation of Article 11, if that home sells for 400 when the neighbor sold for 400 and that thing had 0 high performance features in it, I've got to be able to see them, point them out, and most importantly, quantify them. And I quantify them through this third-party certification. Okay. So where to go? Green choice under Freddie Mac's website that will start you down the path of talking to lenders that are speaking this language. And then the Appraisal Institute website will get you along the path of requesting a qualified appraiser. You have the right to deny the appraiser to your house if that person does not have the credentials to appraise the systems that the house has. So hopefully I made that abundantly clear. We really want to have a backbone when it comes to these types of situations. Okay. A couple other websites. Kathy was talking about, obviously, the Inflation Reduction Act. Rewiringamerica.org. Weird website name, in my opinion, but nonetheless, it is a plethora of information. And over here, you can see this big button, IRA Savings Calculator. And I can click that, I think. And somewhere, yep. Okay. I can begin to fill this out, and it's going to help me understand what potential savings or rebates do I have at my fingertips based upon my income and where I am and things like that. So that is rewiringamerica.org. That was in that list of on the last page there of Kathy's inflation reduction pamphlet there that we went over. All right. So I know we're getting down to the end. Just want to see open it up for Q&A. A couple other things I can hit. I think I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. But anybody have any questions? The floor is open. Just shout it out if you do. If not, we'll keep rolling.
Let me just mention, if I can, to follow up on what Eric just mentioned. I talked about the white paper that we're developing through the NAR Sustainability Advisory Group. We are utilizing input from the Appraisal Institute and the Council of Multiple Listing Services. We will be sharing the white paper and all of that information with the U.S. Department of Energy and the state energy offices, as they are the ones that will be creating the rebate programs and the market transformation program as required by the IRA. So we're aware and are talking with these appraisers as we look at what is necessary for Pennsylvania to take advantage, and as well as all of the other states, of the IRA and all that funding.
Great. Thank you. So while you guys are thinking of questions, I see a few things in there. Green choice not being the best option. Totally. From a person, I've had a decent experience, but others on this call have not. That's no problem. Other resources that you may want to turn to is the USGBC, which is the United States Green Building Council. You can also turn to NAHB, which is the National Association of Home Builders. Network with people like Todd Usher, who is the builder I showed in that YouTube. He's in South Carolina, but we understand that Pennsylvania is kind of middle of the pack, which is an opportunity, if we want to phrase it that way, but also creates, a little bit more old school grassroots efforts as we continue to, create these paths. We've got to cut the paths in first, right? Like I'm thinking of a trail, it's all overgrown. And that first person through is just getting rid of the big stuff. And then by the thousandth person through, wow, that was hard to say, right? It's a trail that's well defined. So your trailblazers, that's exciting. But I do have a challenge for everyone on the call. And that is, has anyone added a green feature to one of their listings in Bright? one. Awesome.
Great
James, you get the
question.
award. Yeah, if I had chocolate, I'd throw it to you. Awesome job. So the challenge for everyone is to use one green field in your listing in 2024. And how am I going to do that? Well, I would venture to say more than 3/4 of the appliances in our homes are Energy Star. That alone. So an Energy Star, you know that stupid yellow label, the Energy Guide that's glued or taped to every appliance that you buy? At the bottom right of that label, it will tell you whether it's Energy Star. And I don't know about you, but I find that 99.99% of my homeowners keep those yellow stickers. It's like my wife keeping the owner's manual. I'm not sure why, but we have a whole desk full of owner's manual in case I forget how to operate a fridge, right? But I have those yellow stickers. They'll tell you they're Energy Star. The other thing you could do if they don't have those yellow stickers is take out your phone, take a picture of the serial number, plug that into Google, and it'll tell you if it's Energy Star. And now you're starting to greenify the MLS, which is going to help all of us, most importantly, our appraisers, in begin to give the value add to these homes that they deserve. Right. So again, let's not overcomplicate it and be like, oh my gosh, I got to get out the geothermal booklet because they have a geothermal heating system. That would be cool if they do. But they more than likely, your homeowners have some sort of green feature in it. You just got to go in with a trained eye and ask about their appliances. If they've upgraded their appliances in the past 5 or 10 years, they're going to be Energy Star, unless you're talking about maybe a flip situation or something like that. But the vast majority of homeowners are buying Energy Star appliances. So that's an easy one. Or LED light bulbs, right? I mean, talk about a value add. Give them a coupon for $10 off LED. I mean, you could get all new light bulbs in your house for $100. I mean, you got to figure out what color you want. That's confusing, but there are very easy steps or easier steps that we can take. And, the use of the green fields in Bright is embarrassingly low. And I think we really owe it to ourselves as an industry. We know, Kathy shared so many different surveys. We know that buyers want to feel good about their purchases, good from a sustainability standpoint. But we're not providing the information to the buyer agent so they can, I'm not allowed to say steer, what was it? Shape the conversations with their buyers to say, hey, look at this townhouse. You buy this one, it has all Energy Star appliances. You're going to save money and you're going to do better by the planet. Right? So just the way our buyer agents want to know what the HOA includes, we also should help them understand what sustainable elements or energy efficient or high performance features are in the home. And there are so many more homes in our marketplace that have these features. They're just staying in the closet because we're not marketing the aspects. I mean, Bright is the second largest MLS in the country. That's got some negatives to it, but the positives are they have these fields available for us with full functionality. We just got to use them. So that's my plea. Yeah, go ahead.
Eric mentioned Article 11, and it's really our obligation as realtors to know what we are marketing. So it should be incumbent upon you to find out what are the special features in that home. It's more than just number of bedrooms and number of baths. Are there green features that you should be marketing that benefit your client? It's incumbent upon you through Article 11 and the education in those specific features. The dearth of appraisers that somebody mentioned that are certified for green, I saw it in the chat. The Appraisal Institute is aware of this, and believe me, they are working on it. They are promoting it. They know from all of the surveys, as well as particularly some of the home builder requirements and surveys that have come through with areas where they're not receiving value for particular items they're including. And that is obviously critical in the mortgage process with the appraisal. So again, when we're thinking about appraisers, don't you think it might be helpful if you utilize those green fields in Bright? Because the appraisers need that information as well. So it's not just our buyers and sellers. We need to make sure our appraisers are seeing the value so that we're getting the proper appraisal, for our mortgages. I just want to make sure you're aware we are working on that. And take it away, Eric, with any final thoughts. I don't know if there's anything else in the chat that we haven't answered, but I do see a hand raised. So
Yeah, Keith, fire
Keith
away.
Parsons?
Yeah, first, Kathy, and Eric, thank you so much for this presentation. I think it's been, somewhat of a long time coming. I feel like, Eric, maybe you and our paths have crossed somewhere before on this subject. And Kathleen, I think many years ago, probably around 2019, I might have touched base with you when I invited the sustainability director out to present at that time it was Suburban West,
Right.
but now Tri-County.
Right.
And I put together a little program at Green Building United's annual seminar down in Philadelphia in 2019. And some of the stuff I've shared in chat is coming from that time period, and I don't know if I've seen a lot of. I mean, what NAR is doing with their sustainability reports is great, but with the MLS, I tried to bring representatives from lending, from Bright, from appraisals and whatnot to come out and present. And I found that with Bright, one concern I have is that a lot of their green fields are somewhat generic. And just to maybe throw out an example are windows. And one of the things that I learned about windows from Green Building United and sitting in on some of their charrettes and training is you could buy the most expensive triple paned, gas-filled window panels, windows units that you install. But if you don't install them properly and seal around the edges when they're put in, you're basically spending a lot of money on very expensive, supposedly green windows, and yet all the air is leaking around from the outside. So my concern with that when it relates to pointing this out and adding it as a green feature on the MLS is yes, and then kind of no, right? And then how do we really account for that? So what I would really love to see, and I tried speaking with people at Bright, and I really never was able to get any contact with them and reaching out with them. Not really much response. But how could we get what I think is the industry standard HERS ratings into Bright MLS so that we're really comparing apples to apples and not apples to oranges or tangerines or anything else, so that
Yeah.
we get an audit on these features so that they're not just sort of sales pitchy, greenwashing, as sort of the industry would say. And I always look at solar as another example. Solar is great, but it's sort of the cherry on top of the house, on top of the sundae. If you don't really insulate and seal your house properly, all the energy you generate with that solar is once again going to kind of go right back out the window. So I think it's just taking a better holistic approach to some of these green features and ensuring that they're being utilized and applied properly, and that everybody's being trained on this stuff properly. So I'm just thinking maybe where are we with regards to applying something like a across the board standards such as HERS to some of either appraisals or the MLS.
So I appreciate your comments for sure. I mean, I think we go back to trailblazing and we can look at it as we all got to be perfect and know everything, or we just try to make inroads. And there's obviously a debate there. HERS is a widely accepted energy rating, but is definitely not the only one. You can upload HERS ratings to Bright. There is a button for after you get third-party certification. So when you talk about things like, I got really great windows, but the installer was terrible at that. That's an excellent point that you bring up. And I would argue that's why why we would lean towards third-party certification, because if the window is not installed correctly and that third-party certification does a blower door test, you're going to know and see in the results that it's not getting the HERS rating that it thought. So
Exactly.
the key to this path is to help all of us just do something towards it. Like, clearly you're at a higher level of understanding and comprehension, which is beautiful. There's others that are scared to even just think about the word R value and what does that mean. And so what we're really trying to do is say, let's just take good steps, getting LED in, caulking our gaps, doing this, doing that. These are steps in the right direction. And if we can add that to Bright, we're beginning to raise that foundation that you want to see, which I 100% agree with. But I think it's understanding and appreciating that we all are jumping off, our jump off points are different. And that's okay. Wherever you are in the green world, take one step forward. And if we all keep doing that, we'll have a greener MLS. Go ahead, Ken.
Absolutely beautifully said, Eric. I appreciate your response there. And I'd say to Keith and everyone else on our webinar this morning, get involved. We currently don't have a local association sustainability group, but that's something that certainly could be looked at if it's
I would love
warranted by
that.
our membership. Get involved at NAR. Keith, there's an MLS committee there that is consistently discussing, because it is part of our strategic plan at this point, for all committees, including that one, to consider sustainability efforts. So I think, as Eric alluded to, you have a greater level of understanding that might benefit folks at that MLS committee. So I would urge you to get involved at the NAR level with information like that. Applaud you
it's great.
for being there.
Yeah.
I will definitely do that. I was down in DC pre-pandemic, sat in on the sustainability committee meeting, and it sounds like since that time, there's been some really excellent progress, and you guys are a credit to that. So thank you.
Thank you. Shanta, go ahead. I see your hands up.
Yes, hi. I just wanted to know, is there a particular website where we can find information about these rebates and how to qualify for those rebates?
Yes.
So,
yeah, go ahead, Kathy.
I would say on the slide, which was the final slide of the IRA information, it's usable, but keep in mind, at this point, the states are just developing their market transformation plans and their rebate programs. So while you can get generic information on the IRA itself, and you can see on there the state allocations, et cetera, currently Pennsylvania's plan doesn't exist. So that's why we want to work with them. We want to get this implemented. We want to take advantage of the rebates and credits that are available to Pennsylvanians.
Okay, so it's not available for the state of Pennsylvania yet.
Other than just the general overview. And Eric, I'm sorry, go ahead. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, exactly. Well said, Kathy. Shanta, I would just try to make the distinction between the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, which Kathy's talking about. And yes, we need Pennsylvania to finalize their plan, submit it to the feds, and then we'll have those concrete resources that you're looking for. But the IRA is one program. Granted, it's the most far-reaching and exciting for us in this space. But that first website, Desire, DSIRE, if you just type that in, that's going to show you current programs that are not a part of the Inflation Reduction Act. So you can search that database by state and begin to see some other programs that Pennsylvania is offering outside of the Fed's support of the Inflation Reduction Act.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure. All right, we're up against it. How about that for timing, Mike? A bunch of better be lucky than good there. Nah, but a couple minutes left. Not really, but happy to take any other questions as we close this puppy out.
on a macro level, kind of, are some of these IRA programs dependent upon funding that might not be there down the line? I mean, you know, as politics change, et cetera, you know, some of these credits, et cetera, and that was the credits and stuff are the reason I got geothermal back in the day. It was, they were there, and it was sort of a no-brainer not to go with geothermal when we were switching back. And this was, I think, back around 09, 010, you know, when they were trying to incentivize anything. But going forward with this, with some of the IRA, I am a little bit concerned about the funding that would need to happen for some of these programs to really take foot. Am I right about that, or?
Well, I wish I could have a crystal ball and tell you I know the answer to that. It is a piece of legislation that is in existence. As with anything, funding has to go through the process with the various houses of with Congress and the Senate, but I can't answer that. I don't have a crystal ball on the election and what's going to go on. But I think this is a bipartisan issue. It is not something that is necessarily leaning red or blue. It's a purple issue. So hopefully there are folks that will continue to look at it from that standpoint. And again, I think a lot of it will also be dependent on how quickly and how well our state utilizes the advantages that are out there. So again, that's the importance of us as an industry trying to work with our energy provider partners to accomplish that and get this out to Pennsylvanians.
Yeah, and I would just add to that. I agree. You know, it is in place for 24. So provided PA, you know, submits that plan, you know, the funding, as I understand it anyway, Kathy, is that it is in place for 24.
Yes, that's true. Okay, well, I don't see
Real
any other
quick,
questions, and I just
actually-
wanted to express my thanks to all of you who attended. Please feel free to let us know if there's anything, contact us directly if there's additional questions, and everybody stay safe and warm out there. And thanks to Eric for leading the way here with his help this morning.
Yeah, thank you as well. Great stuff. Thank you all for jumping on. We appreciate it.
Thanks. I'm gonna
Thank
take
you.
a moment just to wrap up here, guys. Thanks everybody for joining us. Great information, Kathy and Eric. Amazing. Thanks a lot. I want to let you all know that you can find the recording of today's session out on our website. We're going to upload that today. So what you'd want to do is get out here under the education tab at tcsr.realtor, and then down underneath you'll see under seminars, webinars, webinar series archive. You'll see it listed there with a bunch of others. I also want to mention one other thing, and that is we want you to mark your calendars for our next virtual event. It's in February, and it is called Fiduciary Duties in Death and Divorce. And a really nice positive topic, but you know, it's something you need to know about. This is on Wednesday, February 14th. Boy, right on Valentine's Day, interestingly as well, at 10 a.m. In this Valentine's Day session, Tri-Counties Association Counsel Bill Weber, who is a guy that he grew up in my neighborhood in Olney in Philadelphia. He's going to help realtors understand their duties in these types of transactions that can be really emotional for your clients. So just want to invite you to that, and you can find that really easily just by going onto the calendar option on our website. So with that, thanks everybody. We appreciate all of you. Thanks for being here, especially special thanks to Eric and to Kathleen. Tremendous presentation. Thanks so much.
Mhm. Will you guys be sharing the slide deck?
Yeah, that's no problem. Yeah, we'll figure that out. It may take a second to get it all into one happy resource, but we're happy to share the information. Definitely.
Okay, okay. I think Mike Carlin actually will probably be able to help you out with that, I think, right?
Yeah, you'll be able to go out into your portal and then
Mhm.
follow. I'll drop something into chat here in a moment. So as long as Kathy and Eric share the information, we will make it available in your portal. You'll just have to find the class, and there's a documents tab from the portal, and you'll be able to grab it right from there.
Perfect. Mike, thank you. Eric, thank you. And Kathy, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Yeah, thank
Thanks,
you all.
everybody.
Take care.
Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.